Hi, I'm Dennis Weese. Welcome to our town. We are in Chapman today with one of the Fun brothers. And the two brothers, Doug and Roger Thompson, have created a lot of fun in my life. For almost any conversation, we end up laughing, and that's a great thing.
Well, it wasn't done intentionally, you have to remember, Dennis.
So we're in the Chapman grocery store, and we're in the middle of the biggest jigsaw puzzle I ever saw.
Well, listen, you've come in, you've given a lot of help. No physical help, but a lot of criticism, not so much help.
Yep. Looky here. We're looking through a 5 or 6 door cooler. Brian's in the back of it, and we're where the doors are going to be, and we're setting on the pile.
Yeah, you're exactly right. This is a cooler, 5-door cooler, right here in the middle of it, right beside the meat market area. And if we went on a little bit further, we'd see there's a walk-in cooler that we started building day before yesterday, and we would brag about it and be done, except there was one piece that was mismade, so the factory had to send us another one back. Otherwise we'd have that done. And off to our left, which would be the west, there's a new cooler setting there. And then along the west wall here at the Chapman Food Mart, we just moved in and have hooked up a 20-door cooler. And it's first 10 doors are freezer, the next 10 doors are cooler. And like my banker said, Dennis, that's a Cadillac of the coolers.
Did he say it with that kind of enthusiasm?
Pretty much. It was pretty similar.
All right. All right. Well, this brings back every nightmare of the night before Christmas with all my children that I've ever had. I got to tell you, if it weren't cold in here, I'd be sweating. Just too many pieces, parts, and instructions.
Well, it's like everything, you know, it's like with life. If you looked at where you are and where you wanted to go, it would be overwhelming, and you wouldn't get out of bed, you wouldn't leave the house. And in this situation, it's just one step at a time. It's the old saying, you know, the step of 1,000 miles began with the first step.
You know, I was telling a story just this week using the Pioneers in St. Louis as my fall guy. But, you know, St. Louis would be a lot bigger city if everybody worried about little things like this, because they all would have stopped right there. Yeah. You know, who knew what was beyond? Nobody is the answer.
You're right.
And so they went in and they solved the problem minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, and made it to the coast.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so I look at this as we're sitting in the middle of a giant vision for small town America. I have worked with some folks at K-State over the last few years. The Institute for Civil Discourse and Democracy did a whole series on how important grocery stores are to the survival of small town Kansas. They said it was their lead initiative. They're the most important defining characteristic for economic survival of small town Kansas was their premise, is a grocery store. So we're setting in a brand new one.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a project, of course, here in Chapman. It hasn't had a grocery store for a number of years, and it is a necessary item because what happens to a community is they have to do their shopping outside of the area, not only for the groceries. Well, if you do that, you pick up your gasoline, you pick up all of your supplies are out of the area, and it's difficult to justify the expense of living in one town and then doing your shopping completely in another one. And so the City Council for Chapman had wanted to address that issue, and they asked for proposals. We gave a proposal because we have a prime piece of real estate that's a perfect location for a grocery store. The question gets to be, can a town of 1,600 with some surrounding area of maybe 400 or 500 that are in a close proximity support a store? And we used the pattern this store after the Onega, Kansas store. Very similar. They had a fire and they did a rebuild and built a beautiful store. And I went up to the store, and the people were just gracious enough that owned it to let me go through everything, to give me their prints, their plans. And so we patterned this store after the Onega store. And this is an 8,000 square foot facility. And when we started on it, I said, we can't build a bigger store. We can't build a Dillon-sized store or a Walmart. So I said, what we want to build is a very nice store. And this is an affiliated store, which means that affiliated is the company that we buy our products from and give us the support. And man, they've been tremendous about here's what you need, and they've come out and they've physically went through and said, here's suggestions and here's what you think, what we think you ought to do. And they will actually come out and rearrange the shelves and stock the shelves when it's the dry goods come in. And we're scheduled for right now the 1st of December to move the dry goods in, and then the perishables will follow a week later. And we have a target date. We want to open around the December the 15th, give or take a few days one direction or the other. And we think we can do it.
Did I mention that with all the respect I have for you and your brother and the fun we have when I come over here, that this will be the last time you'll get to see me between now and December the 15th?
Oh, you'll come in after work.
Oh,
then.
yeah, I'll come after when there's something to buy. I'll be your first customer.
All right.
But boy, I can't take this jigsaw puzzle
I
stuff.
understand.
Ooh.
I understand.
All right, so I know there's a vision. And I know you do things like this not by accident. So I want to ask you why it's important to you. Why did you do this?
Well, there's a couple of reasons to it. When we picked out the location, and we're immediately adjacent to the Kansas Auto Racing Museum, and Connie and I and the good Lord own that complex. So we bought that acreage of 24, 25 acres. And when we started that project, it was the same question as people said, well, why do you want to, well, you know, you got a law practice in Abilene. Why do you want to relocate the law practice to Chapman in the middle of a wheat field? I said, you know, this is what I feel the Lord's telling me to do. He picked the spot, and it's turned out to be not just a wheat field. It's turned out to be a spot that has made quite a difference in a lot of people's lives. And so when this opportunity came along, I've tried to project myself into the future. And so, well, how long is Doug going to be around? And what becomes of this complex afterwards. So I wanted to make certain that we had a good vision that would honor and glorify the Lord's name by having a piece of property that we used for the good of the community and would have some sustaining effect after my family's gone and somebody else's is here. So if there's a grocery store that's built, I've got to believe a grocery store would be here for a long time. And that's why we've tried to build it in a prime location rather than have something that we would find, lose control of the land and find that there was something built that wasn't honoring.
You couldn't have just bought some lottery tickets with your hard-earned savings and felt the same thrill, huh?
No, what I do with the lottery tickets is I just wait and see who wins, and I call and say, here, I'm going to send you $2 more or $5, whatever they cost. I haven't bought one for a while.
Okay, well, it's inspiring to me. I know what it takes to start a business. I'm not sure very many people do anymore. We may know what it took Grandpa to start a business, or even Dad, but you know, one of the problems with job creation in the state of Kansas today is going on nationwide. The rate of new business, small business opening is slowing down, and the rate of failures is still about the same. So where we used to open 10 and lose 8, we're not opening 10 anymore, but we're still losing 8. Small business creates 80–90% of the jobs in America, depending on whose number you believe. But locally, all our business is small business. So every job in Abilene and Kansas is created by small business.
Yeah, it is. And you hit up on something here, especially in the grocery store business. Right now, I had the pleasure of going over and talking at Kansas State at their seminar on rural grocery store development. And while I was there, I had the chance to hear other people get up and talk, and I had a chance to see the people who were there, and they were mostly mom pop. And because of the nature of the seminar being rural grocery store development, they were mom pop who were trying to make a difference in their community, who were hardworking people. They had the same concerns that I have. Is this going to be a place that we build, and then here comes a big grocery store chain built out by interstate, and boom, we're gone. We're done. It became a huge liability rather than an asset. Well, that's what everybody there had, the same concern. And so we shared information about how we developed this one, and I listened to how they developed their grocery store, and we talked about how you make it. Well, the bottom line, what I left from there was the same thing that I felt like I knew going in. It's always the same thing to be successful with business. There's somebody that runs the business. We have people who are going to run this grocery store, and they'll do a good job. They're hardworking, and it's a mom-pop operation with family. And that's what it takes to be successful. When we started on this one, I had said what I really want to see is have a couple come in, family come in and they begin to learn the names of everybody who comes in, and vice versa, so that they can, hey, I saw so-and-so scored 15 points in the ball game the other night, and those things. And that's what it takes.
You know, I can observe that it's true that many of these type operations and other food places, restaurants, for example, the successful ones have some family ties, other than your national chains, McDonald's and such. But the ones that start locally and prosper locally are run by families who are invested. It's become harder and harder for two people, a family, to do it all themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the unique thing here. You stepped in with a vision and plan, capitalization, all the rest of the stuff. I told my wife, I said, if he wasn't a lawyer, they never would have got it done, because of just dealing with all the regulatory, and you're investing your time as well as your capital. But then you went and found a family to run it.
We did. We have Ken and Ann Bush that have Solomon, Bush's Market in Solomon, and they're going to take this on as a second store. Their son-in-law, Travis, will primarily be the manager in here.
Okay.
Well, what I liked about them, of course, was not only that they're running a store in a small town, but it's mom, pop, and his family. And they have their own meat market. They cut their meat. There's going to be the meat market here will be one you could walk in and say, oh, I'd like a steak cut certain size. And a deli area.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really terrific. Now, I noticed that, you know, the Thompson brothers have always got unique working relationship, and we showed up here with a camera, and about the time you're trying to figure out how to put up a 129-inch and 144-inch header that we're setting on right up there, about that time Roger's Coffee Buddy shows up, just out of the blue.
I don't think so. I don't think it was just out of the blue. It was prearranged. Roger said, come get me out of that store, get me away from my brother at this time. And then Roger acts amazed when here Greg walks in and says, hey, I'm sorry, I'm 5 minutes late.
Yeah. You know, he could have been an actor in another life.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd ever got a job, but he could have been an actor.
He could have been an actor. He wouldn't have got a job, but he could have been an actor.
Oh, I told him, I said, I'm sure that much of this is Roger's fault. And he says, how's that? And I said, well, you know, if we could have kept Doug sufficiently distracted by worrying about us and those two sprint cars, he might have not had this idea. I think there's some merit to that.
Could be. There could be.
Well, I can tell you, I am very excited about what's going on right here. I think this is incredibly important for people to watch this and go, you know, he's taking a risk. I could take a risk. He had to have some help, find somebody to run it. Maybe I can find somebody to take over my store. The number one challenge I think facing many small towns in Kansas is the generational handover of business. Yeah. We have a lot of people older than both of us still running stores, and there's nobody to hand it over to, and there's no mechanism in the community to help them with that.
Sure.
It's going to be a new process for all of us. We're going to have to figure this out. Nobody's got the solution to that yet, Doug, and I think it will be some mix of things. Like this is a mix of things. Somebody has to help us figure this out, and I'm hoping this will be an inspiration to help people say, let's go figure it out.
Yeah, many of the farms are going through the same thing from the time I've been an attorney for 40 years now. And when I started, the handoff was to grandparents to their kids who were then running the farm. And now that's not consistent anymore. It's very much so that, well, the family's not involved in it. They're east, west coast, or Texas, or somewhere else, and they don't really have any interest in the farming. So the older generation is trying to figure out, well, what do we do? You know, it's the same with the small businesses. Same thing.
Well, we're very excited at Eagle. You're a great partner for us. You know, you've put grassroots racing and whatever happened to on our local content station now for a number of years. You have everything you've ever told me that you would do for Eagle, you have done.
Oh, thank you.
And it's always been done well. You say you're going to have something done, you're going to have it shipped, loaded up, whatever it is, it's always done. It's just, it has come to be, with me, a simple fact. When you say I've got an idea and I'm going to do something, I presume it's the same as going to happen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Eagle's been a great partner. That you guys have been great to work with. You've always been a tremendous help taking the shows, taking the idea, and we're so happy to be able to help promote Eagle. for all the things you do in the community. It's tremendous. Thank you.
You know, this won't be produced and probably on the air before Thanksgiving, but it will certainly before Christmas. And we're running Can We Talk, your full-length feature film at Thanksgiving and Christmas. Because you asked, we said yes, and we got a lot of positive comments, and I still get comments from the community.
Good.
About some of the things that you have done for us, including that one. So that is going to be an opportunity for people out in the community to see some more of the work that you've done here in the past.
Well, appreciate you running that. It's a good family film, and I know it's going to be across the network on Thanksgiving night and other nights too.
Well, we're so excited to have been here, but when it's all full and there's people and things going on, we're coming back.
We'll get you here for the grand opening.
All right. I think it would be great. You know, we have 2 minutes. As the Ma and Pa left in the wagon train, and as I always make Mike Whitehair, the veterinarian there in Abilene, the focal point of this joke, you know, when Pa poked his ox in the tail with his ox goad and they left St. Louis, and that's what makes me think of Mike Whitehair, because he pokes a lot of oxes in the tail end. So there were a lot of people standing outside on the city limits going, "You're not going to make it. You're foolish. You're leaving a perfectly good house and you're going out there." There were naysayers, and there was always naysayers to everything.
Yeah.
I commend you as a person for just moving forward.
Well, thank you. There's always some who, you know, root against you, some who always complain. There's an awful lot of really good supporters and people who cheer you on.
Sure.
And we've had both, and the number of supporters have been tremendous and very loyal, very good people.
I'm sure they will increase
Yeah.
as they get used to the convenience and the quality that I'm confident your store is going to bring.
Yeah, we're hopeful that those who were naysayer originally come in and say, you know, it's turned out really good. And that's all we ask of them, is that they support us and have a good feeling about their store, because it's theirs.
Well, we thank you a lot. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm sure we'll do it again. We thank Brian for coming out on a very cold day and setting up and getting some shots inside the store, and your mug and mine on camera.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Dennis.
Folks, we appreciate you watching Our Town on Eagle Communications, and we look forward to seeing you at the Chapman grocery store.